Assalamu alaikum, peace be with you, and welcome to Islam on Life with me, Tariq Ramadan, broadcasting from London. Today's show asks the question, how can Muslims conduct business ethically in today's world?
Business, ethics, Islam. The current global malaise is mainly a result of unethical business practices. A tidal wave of interest accruing credit was unleashed on US homeowners, creating a property bubble that burst asunder and caused what came to be known as the credit crunch. Not halal. So today is a good time to explore what a true Islamic business ethics could look like. With a host of chief executives and CEOs paying themselves record amounts, does Islam have anything to say about how much people should be paid? Also, what should we be trying to achieve when doing business? To make as much money as possible? To create something that benefits society? Or to worship Allah? Around 50% of British gross domestic product stems from business practices prohibited by Islam. And in the US, the financial sector accounts for over a third of all corporate profits. So how far can an Islamic business ethics be reached in an economic order where not even the basics of Sharia law are in place? This week, Islam and Life asks, how can Muslims conduct business ethically in today's world?
So from around the world, we listen and we hear Muslim scholars and Muslim intellectuals and businessmen being involved in the world of business and training and management and finance and economy. They are talking about Islamic economy, Islamic finance, Islamic business and ethical business as well. So what is really what we call Islamic ethics in business or in finance or Islamic finance and Islamic business? Is there something which is specific? How can we define this? And then what is happening now around the world when we hear about this happening in the States, in Europe, in many countries around the world, in Muslim majority countries as well, where we have people dealing with this, and what is done and in which way it could be improved, not only for the Muslims to feel well with what is done in the name of Islam, but also as a contribution and added value to the practices that we have in non-Muslim countries, for example, and with non-Muslim businesses, for example. So is there something that we can contribute and in which way this contribution could be done and promoted? Well, to answer these questions, I am joined by the author and consultant Tariq Diwani. Tariq is the contributing editor of a new book, Islamic Banking and Finance, What It Is and what it could be. Thank you, Tariq, for being with us. The questions you heard about, all these questions, is something which is a very specific field where we don't always have a clear Islamic answer. So in which way would you yourself, because you are in the field of finance, businesses as well, in which way would you define what we call Islamic ethics in business or Islamic business? Is there something which is specific in the way Muslims are dealing with it?
Well, if you want a definition, a very simple definition, I think it's quite difficult to give one, but maybe how to decide what's right and how to go about doing it. Now, when you have a definition like that, you have to maybe ask some more questions about what is right and how we decide what is right.
So, but before coming to this, very often when I speak with people and say, okay, we have Islamic ethics in business and we have practitioners or people who are specialists in the field that are trying to do something which is faithful to the Islamic principles. And it's the same in finance, it's the same in economy. Many people are saying, oh, do you mean that there is something which is a specific way to deal with business? What do you mean by this? So it's the starting point for the people to understand what we mean by that.
Well, I think the starting point is the purpose. What are we doing business for? What are we living for? And when I was at university, I studied economics and accounting and finance, and we were taught that the purpose of business life was to maximize shareholder value, to maximize profits. And actually, that's a value judgment of a kind, and you find value judgments in religion, and in Islam, the value judgment for us is that the purpose of life is to worship Allah. So there's your first very major difference. Now, if you worship Allah, you have got a very different set of priorities and principles and values driving you, compared to the chief executive officer who's looking to maximize the profits of his company.
So there are 2 points here that are quite important, and I agree on that first point, which is really important, is the ends, the objectives. What are the purposes? What are we trying to achieve? And this is something which is the starting point of everything. In fact, it's the same in education, it's the same with society, it's the same in politics, it's the same in finance. So it's the very essence of what we also had in the very classical Islamic tradition when we spoke about al-maqasid, what are the objectives that we are trying to reach, and then setting this as something which is the priorities, and then inductively we come to, okay, how do we manage this? Are we faithful to these objectives with our Islamic teachings? The point is that you said a second thing, which is, okay, if you don't want only to maximize the profits, and some people are saying, okay, to be faithful to the Islamic way, you should maybe get less profit. So is this the point? Because at the same time, what we have and what I heard from sometimes Muslims is also, no, we want exactly the same profit, the same benefits, but with Islamic ethics.
Yes,
what
okay, well, I mean, that's a false choice saying that you mustn't make too much profit. You can make however much profit you like in Islam, as long as you're not cheating people, defrauding them in some way, practicing something that's prohibited, like usury, for example, or gambling, or selling prohibited items. You make as much profit as you like, but then there's a condition on that. And the conditions are that you have to pay zakat, for example.
Yes.
And then there's ihsan, if you like, the excellence. If you give charity from your profits, then this is not compulsory, but it's recommended.
Yeah.
So we have conditions, and we have the excellence of behaviour, let's say, that in Islam balances the profit motive. So if we go into a little bit more detail, then yes, Islam accepts self-interest as a motivating factor. Islam has rules, like any other legislative system has rules. I mean, it's not implemented these days in many places, but we do have Islamic law and its rules to follow. So that's in addition to self-interest. Yeah. And then there's the excellence of a behaviour, that we want to give charity, that we want to help others without making any profit, just fi sabilillah.
Is it the only specificity that you can see?
Well, these three, I think, are the essential ones.
Altogether.
I mean, they're the essential things that determine motivation, self-interest, rules, and then ihsan, the excellence of a human character.